right. Okay. Kathy? Yeah? We're live. Kathy says we're live. That means we must be live. I apologize, everyone, for my still kind of scratchy voice that you can hear. Oh, I'm watching myself over here. Let me pause that. My voice is a bit scratchy, and I don't like it any more than anyone else does. But it is what it is. I feel okay. Just a little bit of a thing going on. I feel like I have an airplane sitting on top of my head, which is that's not that bad. Airplane, that's fairly mild. I've had worse. But yesterday I was feeling a little worse, and today I'm feeling better, so that's a good sign. They call it a summer cold, I think, if that's what it is. All right, we see we have some people joining. Welcome. We have some cool stuff planned for today. We're going to be doing some exploration of the 4th of July stuff coming up. I'll be sharing a bit about that for those who haven't experienced it before. We're also going to be talking about courtroom jargon, a bit about courtroom jargon, if you're interested in learning a little bit about that, particularly because of the recent, very well-known, highly watched trial that happened recently between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. We're going to be looking at something cool, I think, around writing, which we've talked a bit about before, but an interesting way, I think, to explore writing. And what else do we got? We're going to be doing a deep dive of a specific word. That might sound boring, but I don't think it's going to be boring. We'll see how it goes, but I want to show you how you can explore words so that you really know how to use them. Deeply, you know how to use them, not just knowing it, right? There's a difference between knowing something and really knowing it, and really knowing it means knowing how to use it, of course. And we haven't. There's another thing I have planned as well, but we'll see how it goes. I have a few more things planned, actually. We'll see how it goes. Karina's here. Welcome. Give people a chance to join. What else? Yeah, well, if you haven't already done so, don't forget to follow and subscribe and hit the like button. That really helps out. If you're interested in learning more deeply, more seriously, things like how to write emails or grammar or pronunciation, you can check out my full courses. Those are in the links in the description. I would recommend, if you're interested in learning multiple courses, to do the yearly membership. That's a pretty good deal, so check that out. That's I believe the first link in the description. Otherwise, you can check out the courses in general. And let's see, we'll also be doing probably a bit of Q&A today as well. Okay, so a lot of things that I have planned-ish. I can say planned-ish, not kind of planned. Yeah, I got a haircut, so actually it's a tough transition, a haircut transition. You have a place that you like to go to. So I lived in New York City for the last 6 years, and I got my haircut at the same place every time for the last 6 years. It was a Russian, what was it called? I can't even remember what it was called. I just went to the place. I don't know what it's called. A barber shop. If you're interested in what it looked like, or what it looks like, still looks like that, I do have a video on my channel about haircut English, so you can check that out. But essentially, it's several Russian men in their 70s, maybe 60s or 70s, who sit around and cut hair all day, and they did a great job. They do a great job. And I think the haircut was $15 for just a regular haircut. So the challenge, obviously, is when you move, which I did recently, I just moved to a different place in New York State. I just built a house. When you do that, you have to find a new place to get a haircut. So I tried several places, and I've tried 2 places that didn't go well. One place that I didn't try, it's a weird combination. They have reptiles like snakes and I think turtles and haircuts. I don't know what the point of that is, but you get a haircut and you look at snakes, I guess, maybe. But finally I settled on a place next to a pizza place, and it's very big, and they have very old TVs from the 1990s playing Fox News, and there's a lot of wood paneling. It just doesn't feel like my typical the vibe I would usually have, but the haircut is good, so I'm happy with that. Thomas Shelby style. Not sure who Thomas Shelby is. Let me search who Thomas Shelby is. Oh, Thomas Shelby is the guy from... The actor's name is Cillian Murphy. Is that right? And then the character's name is Thomas Shelby from what the heck is this show called? I've watched clips from it. Thomas Shelby is a character in wait a second. Am I thinking of the wrong show? Yeah, Cillian Murphy. Is that how you say his name? Cillian Murphy is the name of the actor. Peaky Blinders, right. The Peaky Blinders, of course. I need to watch that show. Yeah, apparently he's, I believe, I don't want to incorrectly describe him, but I think he's an Irish mobster of some kind. And, looks like this. Yeah, I went in today and I said, give me the Peaky Blinders. And they said, okay. And then I forgot what the show was called, and then someone brought it up. So. Karina says you have to watch Peaky Blinders. Yeah, I will. I'm sorry. Sorry, everyone. Sorry for not watching it. Again, I've seen clips of it here and there on YouTube, but I've never sat down and watched it. I haven't been watching too many shows recently, actually. I should watch more. I should watch more shows. Well, welcome everybody. As I said, welcome. My name is Luke. We're going to be just another quick intro of what we're going to be doing. We'll be exploring a few things today. 4th of July stuff, because that's coming up. We'll be looking at an interesting way to analyze writing, some courtroom jargon, and a deep dive of a word that will teach us how to explore words, and what else? A few other things. So get ready for that. Well, I think we can start with the 4th of July. If anyone has any questions about that, let me know. But I want to just explore it a bit. I'm assuming that most people watching this know what the 4th of July represents for Americans. It is our Independence Day. A lot of countries around the world have their own Independence Day. And ours is on July 4th, which is the date that the Declaration of Independence was signed in the year 1776. And the Declaration is when the founding fathers of the United States sent a letter to King George of England saying, basically, the United States is an independent nation separate from England. There was an announcing the independence of the United States of America as a nation, and then a war ensued, which the Americans won. So they won their independence. So it's not the actual independence, it's the statement of that. Okay. I think most people probably know that. The celebrations are different in different places, I suppose, but I can talk about some of my experiences, and also just to give you, I want to give you a flavor of how people typically celebrate, and we can watch a couple of videos as well, just to get a sense. Now, it's different in different parts of the country, definitely. I, for example, have never experienced an Independence Day celebration in California or the Southwest or Florida. I'm from Ohio. I now live in New York State. So that's kind of my lens, I guess. Now, typically, each town is going to have its own celebration. So it's very local. Even though you may have seen the fireworks that they do on July 4th in New York City, and that's a kind of a well-known fireworks display, the focus, I think, is on each town doing their own thing. Now, what is that thing that they do? The typical behaviors, or let's say the typical traditions, the typical activities, that's better. The typical activities might be a parade down the main street of the town with floats. These are, and we'll check out a video of this as well. These are things that people build, decorate to put in the parade, and then they drive down Main Street and they might throw candy, and children will run out into the street. The cars are going very slowly. The floats are going slowly. They'll run out into the street and grab as much as they can. This was always very exciting to me as a kid. But then this is part of a larger local celebration. Again, it might be a couple of towns doing it together. It might be one town by itself. I'm from a small town in Ohio called Greenwich, and I believe they still do their own local celebration with the parade, and then they have a festival, several days festival, which, of course, there's a lot of food, there are rides and games, and a few activities that stick out in my memory. One, men's softball. So this is like baseball, except with a bigger ball, and men from the town play softball, and there's a tournament, and you eat hot dogs and watch softball. Or you could play bingo. There's usually a bingo tent, and people sit down and play bingo to win money. Or you could eat chicken sandwiches or potato salad or corn dogs or funnel cakes. So there are a lot of things to do, and the games would be carnival games. So a company that runs carnivals will come to the town and run the festival for that weekend. Now, I'm from a relatively rural town, so it's not common everywhere, I think, but one of the big things that would happen during the 4th of July weekend in my town was the truck pull, the tractor pull, and the demolition derby. And these, I guess you could describe as redneck activities. The highlight of the year is the big truck, and we'll watch a video of this too, pulling a weight, or a big tractor pulling a weight to see who can pull it the farthest. And the demolition derby is just basically cars smashing into each other until there's only one left. It might sound insane and it might sound strange, and that's because it is, but when I was a kid, this was paradise. This was the best weekend of the year. I would save up all my money from doing chores around the house to spend on games, to spend on bingo, to get into the demolition derby or the truck pull, to eat. This would be the biggest day of the year for me. I remember I used to hope I could save up about $60 or $80, and then that would be enough for the weekend. And that was a lot of money. I had $80 for the whole weekend. Very, very Exciting. Okay, so let's check out let's just see a few things here and see if it's representative of 4th of July as I experienced it. Doesn't have to be. This one is from ABC News. So let's see. Millions of Americans celebrate July 4th weekend. This is last year. Well, let's just check this out. Gotta have ads, of course. Love that. After the ad plays. I should probably get ads turned off when I'm doing this, but all right, here we go. Oh, hold on a second. Let me switch views here. There we go. All right, now you can see.
Celebrating the nation's independence on this first major holiday after the easing of COVID restrictions. Preparations are underway in Nashville for what officials say is the country's largest 4th of July celebration. And while Americans across the country join together in gatherings big and small, health officials are voicing concerns about the spread of the Delta variant. Here's ABC's Elwin Lopez.
Oh, it's a COVID thing.
Tonight, the holiday rush is back in full swing. Millions of Americans riding a new wave of hope, returning to their July 4th customs in a way they were unable to last year.
It feels really good and relieving to be around people and outdoors.
In Huntington Beach, California, it's mask off for beachgoers, but some still feel the need to mask up.
That's my comfort zone right now.
For beachgoers, but some...
Yeah, see that? She has curly fries in the red and white container. Yes, and she's eating for two as well.
Still feel the need to mask up.
That's my comfort zone right now.
Long lines at TSA.
The news voice is so weird. There's still a need to mask up. There's something strange about the news person voice. I have to do a video about
checkpoints across the country in numbers not seen since before the pandemic. And with so many taking to the skies and hitting the roads, concerns remain about the Delta variant, especially in low vaccination pockets.
We are seeing increases in cases.
COVID cases and infection rates.
I want to see B-roll.
Make their way back.
No, this is no good. Well, I mean, you got the idea of the carnival. That's what it looks like. But let's see. 4th of July carnival. Carnival games. Ooh, yes. Let's see if this looks like what I can remember. Let's see. Oh, this.
Thank you, Lauren. Well, there are a bunch of things going on this weekend.
Yes, this looks as I remember it. It looks kind of sad, right? It looks kind of pathetic. Not many people around because I think they say it's happening tonight. But yeah, that's what it looks like. Those are the rides, the typical rides you would see: a little carousel, a Ferris wheel, some other things
that you can add to the list. There's a 4th of July.
Yes, okay, cotton candy, popcorn, smoothies, milkshakes, and then funnel cakes are the classic 4th of July food.
Yeah. Carnival at the Great Pumpkin Farm.
Good B-roll.
You can ride all the rides, play games, eat food, even get your face painted.
B-roll.
That starts tonight from 5 to 9. Tomorrow and
that's the kid in the blue shirt. That would have been me.
Sunday from 11 to 9. Tickets start.
Okay, so yes, that looks about right. Now, what about the Demolition Derby? I'm curious. Again, I think that's probably only a redneck countryside thing. Oh, wait a second. There's some games here.
Drinking water before bed burns 46 pounds in 2 weeks. If you are struggling to lose weight and you're...
And fireworks aren't the only thing that's happening this weekend. The Great Pumpkin Farm in Clarence is hosting a variety of events. Unfortunately, the weather delayed their celebrations from kicking off last night.
This isn't
but
July 4th
today,
at all.
Families got to enjoy all the food,
the rides look the
carnival
same.
rides, and more.
Maybe all carnivals are the same.
Like you said, I haven't been here since 2019.
All the same. Okay. Demolition Derby. Hardest hits. Oh. All right. Here we go. And then the other one, that's insane. I can't believe that that's a thing. But yeah, that was the biggest event on usually Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday, truck pull. Saturday, tractor pull. And then on Sunday, the big day, demolition derby. These cars smashing into each other. And people are working on these cars all year to get a car ready for the demolition derby. I have no idea what the prize would have been, but I'm assuming they still do it. Maybe, I'm not sure. Maybe not. And then the fireworks usually after the demolition derby. That's the classic thing that every 4th of July celebration has to have. Fireworks. Let's see. Tractor pull 2021. Let's do that. Okay. Yeah, this looks about right. This is September, so this is not 4th of July stuff, but it's the right idea. All right. Okay, here we go.
And usually this tractor, when it shows up here, does make a very nice sound.
And the weight gets heavier as it goes.
From the Hildebrand.
So they also do that with trucks, truck pull, tractor pull, and then usually a fireworks display of some kind, paid for by the town, I believe. But the most famous one is New York City fireworks. July 4th. Let's see if we can get it. So I lived in New York for the last 6 years. I only actually went to see the fireworks in New York on the 4th of July once. And then another time, which was very cool, I was on a boat in somewhere north of the city. And there were towns all around the bay. It was in a bay. So you could see the fireworks shows happening all around in all of the individual towns in Long Island. So that's very cool. Yeah.
What's the password for the cable bill?
Forget all your passwords. Bill Pay on the TD Bank mobile app keeps all your bills in one place.
Great. Another ad.
Hey Max, have you been swimming?
All right, I promise I'm going to get rid of those. Promise. So in New York City, the fireworks are being launched from barges in the East River. They're in the East River, I believe, and they're launching these from the barges. It's a very expensive, nice show. So that's 4th of July celebrations. Again, it's more than that, and it's different in different places, I'm sure, but that's the general idea. I think that's how many Americans will celebrate the 4th of July. And I imagine that my memory of it is at least similar to a lot of people and how they still celebrate. I know that there are still parades. I know that they're still doing that, I believe, in my hometown as well. And I don't know about the other stuff, but definitely the fireworks and definitely the food. So hopefully that's enlightening. I see we got some questions here. It's most celebrated on the East Coast. That's interesting. I didn't know that. Who is Uncle Sam? Uncle Sam is just a symbol, often a symbol associated with the United States of America. I wonder the history of Uncle Sam, maybe during World War II, to get people to join the military. You see that the picture of Uncle Sam pointing, saying, "We want you for the U.S. Army." So they're trying to get people to sign up for the military. I'm not sure if that was the origin of Uncle Sam, but let's see. Origin of Uncle Sam. Hey. This is unexpected. Let's see here. On September 7th, 1813, the United States gets its nickname Uncle Sam. The name is linked to Samuel Wilson, a meat packer from Troy, New York, not too far away, who supplied barrels of beef to the United States Army during the War of 1812. What? That's the classic picture of Uncle Sam. Okay. So that's a lot older than I had originally thought. In the late 1860s and 1870s, political cartoonist Thomas Nast began popularizing the image of Uncle Sam. Nast continued to evolve the image, eventually giving Sam the white beard and stars and stripes suit that are associated with the character today. The German-born Nast. German-born Nast was also credited with creating the modern image of Santa Claus, as well as coming up with the donkey as a symbol of the Democratic Party and the elephant as a symbol for Republicans. Whoa! I had never heard that before. That's really interesting. So the same person who came up with the image of Uncle Sam came up with the modern image of Santa Claus. And we have two political parties in the United States. Donkey represents Democrat, and Republican is represented by elephant. And I'll show you those. Donkey and elephant cartoon. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know which ones are the originals, but these are the classical symbols of each of the political parties. The elephant is the Republican, the donkey is the Democrat. Apparently the same guy came up with that. Who came up with first let's see, representation of Santa Claus, and I'm gonna just do Nast. Ooh, during the Civil War. This is the early Santa Claus. What? I mean, that looks about right. Political history of Santa Claus. German refugee Thomas Nast invented how Santa Claus looks back during the Civil War. So this is the original? Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. Cool. Learning a lot. I'm learning a lot. Fascinating. Okay, well, let's move on. One of the things I wanted to cover today was something language related that's been going on and ended recently. So many of you may have been watching the Johnny Depp Amber Heard defamation trial when it was happening. It's over now, but during the trial there were a lot of live streams showing live footage of the trial happening. A lot of interesting reactions coming out of that. Johnny Depp always laughing and Amber Heard looking quite angry all the time. Whatever you think of the outcome, I don't really care. What I want to talk about is some of the language that you hear quite often. It's not as part of daily speech as what you hear every day in movies and TV shows, right? So I want to talk a little bit about some of the jargon that comes out of something like this. Some of the jargon you hear. What is jargon? Jargon is a word or a phrase that's used specifically for a field, an area of expertise, like in a courtroom, like for doctors, like for teachers. There's jargon used for lots of different things. So some of the interesting jargon that we can draw out of the case between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Now, there's one clip I found that I think covers something that you hear most often, which is objection. Objection. This is when there's a back and forth. There's a witness on the stand, and the witness is answering questions. And in this back and forth between one of the lawyers and the witness on the stand, you hear the other side, the other lawyers, the ones representing the person on the stand. So the person who's asking them questions, they're not on the same side, right? They're trying to draw out information. Then on the other side, either the well, I guess it would probably be the plaintiff's lawyer. I guess it could be either one. They're then saying sometimes objection when there's a question asked in an improper way, right? So it's a standard thing that you hear them say quite often, and there are different types of objections. So we're gonna listen to it, and then we'll try to understand what the different types of objections are. In this clip, Amber Heard is the witness on the stand, and she's being questioned by her lawyer, I believe, and then Johnny Depp's lawyer is objecting to many things. Okay, I think that's right, if I remember correctly. Okay, so here we go.
Leading. Objection, Your Honor. Objection, Your Honor. Leading. That's not offered to, and hearsay.
Okay, leading and hearsay. So notice that the title that's given also, speaking to the judge, Johnny Depp's lawyer is saying, Your Honor, Your Honor, Your Honor. Always have to address the judge as Your Honor. And then we'll go over the different types, or we'll look at the different types. There's an article I want to cover so that we can understand this. But let's just watch this.
Your Honor, it's prior consistent statements.
It's leading.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
I'll sustain Your Honor, may I approach? That's fine.
Objection, Your Honor.
If you heard that, may I approach? So what does approach mean? I think it means approach. That means they have an issue about something. One of the lawyers on one side is upset about how something is happening, or they need to clarify something. They'll go up to the bench, and that's where the judge is, and they'll have a private conversation.
Leading. Calls for hearsay. Yes. Objection, Your Honor.
Leading, I heard. Calls for hearsay.
Hearsay.
Their suggestions.
Objection, Your Honor. Can we approach? This is
Johnny Depp and that his lawyer behind.
Again, an objection, leading. Objection, leading. Objection, leading. Calls.
I'll sustain the objection.
Thank you.
Okay, she said there, sustain the objection. So sustain the objection means that there's an objection. They have an issue with that. And then the judge says, okay, you're right. I agree with your objection. And that means then the person asking the questions, the lawyer asking the questions, has to ask a different question or ask it in a different way, right? So they sustain it. But if they disagree, if the judge disagrees that the objection is correct or valid, then they will overrule. Objection overruled. Overruled means no. Continue asking your questions. The question is fine.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
All right, when there's objection, please stop.
Is that true?
Objection, Your Honor. Leading.
Your Honor,
Hearsay and leading are the ones I'm hearing most often.
Objection, Your Honor. Lack of foundation.
Relating
Lack
to
of
your
foundation.
Objection. Leading.
Sustained.
Foundation. Hearsay.
What if anything? It's not the cure-all. It's sustained.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay. Objection, Your Honor. Lack of foundation. Objection, Your Honor. Lack of foundation calls for speculation.
Do you recall? I'm trying.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
I'm going to
object to the extent it calls for hearsay and lack of foundation.
Overruled.
And improper expert opinion.
No.
Objection, Your Honor. Objection, leading.
What if anything? And that does cure on
No, it doesn't. But I'll overrule the objection.
Objection, Your Honor. Leading.
Well, there she overruled the objection.
I'm entitled to go into what Ms. Vasquez asked.
The objection is leading. I'll sustain the objection.
Okay.
Sustain
Objection, leading, and hearsay.
All right. We get the idea.
Objection, Your Honor.
Okay. So what do these actually mean? Leading, hearsay, lack of foundation, these different objections. So I've got an article here, and I think we could just look at some examples of some of the common objections and just to get a general understanding of them. Okay, so one I didn't hear, I don't think I heard, was argumentative. Okay, argumentative. When you hear the words objection argumentative, you might think it means the attorney is accusing you of arguing. Okay, it's actually a legal term that means something similar to drawing conclusions. Okay, an argumentative objection. And then we can look at an example here. How often did you get your brakes checked prior to the accident? Twice a week. Okay, you expect this jury to believe that you got under your car twice a week, every week, to check your brakes? Objection, argumentative, sustained. So that means that they're no longer talking about what happened. They're talking about, basically, in this case, they're talking about someone who's the questioner is trying to get them to make an assumption about something rather than just stating the fact, rather than just stating what happened, right? Giving a conclusion rather than just stating the truth. Okay, so that's one. Calls for speculation. Speculation is a legal basis, and just be clear, I mean, I'm not an expert on this stuff, so I want to just get a sense for it together. Legal basis for objecting to witness testimony on grounds, the reason or the basis, similar to argumentative. Okay. So let's look at an example here. A man with a glorious ponytail came in and bought a newspaper with his credit card. Why did the man use his credit card instead of paying with cash? Objection, calls for speculation. If you speculate about something, you assume the reason, right? You say, oh, this must be this because of this. But that's not why they call someone up onto a witness stand to ask them questions, not to get their assumptions about why someone is using a card instead of cash, right? Instead, just say what happened, say what's going on. Don't make your witness try to assume some reasons for something, because that could push the jury one way or the other, okay? Why did the man have a ponytail? That's not relevant, right? It's not relevant, okay? So let's go to the next one. Foundation is one I did hear. Foundations. We heard calls for speculation, and we heard foundation. Foundation objections are related to assumes fact, not in evidence objections. Okay, that's a little confusing. A party asks a question but has not shown the court why the witness is qualified to answer the question. Basic foundations that need to be established before the question is permissible might include personal knowledge and familiarity with the topic. Okay, so maybe they're asking a lot of questions and they start asking things that the witness actually doesn't really know anything about. Maybe they heard it from someone else. They don't know much about it, so they don't have a foundation to say whether this happened or not because they don't know anything about it. Are you a tennis player? Witness, yes. Attorney, what percentage of a tennis ball is made of rubber? Objection, lacks foundation. Sustained. Now that's kind of that one's a little too, no one would actually ask that question, right? But I think it makes it clear is you went to play tennis, or you like to play tennis, or you are playing tennis. That doesn't mean you know anything about tennis balls, the scientific facts of tennis balls. Non-responsive we didn't hear, right? Don't believe we heard non-responsive, but let's just read through what non-responsive means. Common objection used in court when a witness is not responding properly to questions asked under oath. Under oath means they've sworn to tell the truth. Using this evidentiary objection is crucial when you have a witness who skirts around your question, rambles on, or gives testimony that goes beyond the scope of what you ask them. Okay, so they're not really answering the question. They're not really addressing what you're asking. They're trying to avoid it. Example, in what year did you meet Bozo? We've known each other since we were students at clown school. A lot of people don't know that Bozo was quite the ladies' man. Anyway, when he got back from his second tour in Afghanistan after his divorce, objection, non-responsive. So you're talking about the divorce and being in Afghanistan. I'm not asking you about those things. I don't care. So you're not answering the question, and that would be the non-responsive objection. Pretty interesting. I think this article is very well written, and I like that they provide the little dialogue underneath to try to understand what it means. Did we miss any? Foundation, speculation. Heard that one a lot. Calls for speculation. Argumentative. Yeah, I think we covered the ones that we heard in the video, at least. So next time you are watching a movie or a courtroom TV show, drama, Law and Order, whatever it may be, at least hopefully now you have a sense for when you hear these words, objection and approach, and the different types of objections, you got an idea about it, and you know at least what they're trying to do when they say that. Because every field has its own jargon, and nobody is the expert in all of it. I'm certainly not, especially the legal stuff. So what I do when I'm not sure what something means, like when I watch this video and I think, what does argumentative objection mean? What does that mean when I hear calls for speculation? What I do is I search it and I look for an article and I find something and then I try to get an idea for it. Now I think I understand what calls for speculation means. At least I have a pretty good idea. So now when I watch that video again or see another video that's like it, I have a deeper understanding of it. And that's how knowledge gets built up. So hopefully that's useful. By the way, if you haven't already done so, don't forget to like and subscribe. And also, you can check out my full courses in the links in the description. Okay. Camille Vasquez is the attorney for Johnny Depp. She's now becoming very famous, I think, because they won that case, and she's quite well known. Exactly. Some people have been watching the trial. That's great. Oops. Give me 1 second. Is the stream working okay? Yeah. All right. So if you guys have any questions about anything I didn't answer or anything I missed, just feel free to ask and I'll do my best to answer. We have some other things I want to talk about, but I would appreciate just hit the like button, subscribe. That might help my throat feel a little better. It's a little scratchy at the moment. I think that would really help a lot. Okay. Now I wanted to talk a little bit about writing, but I'm going to check and see if I missed any answers or any questions. Esme says how to prepare for an Ielts exam. That's a big topic, and probably one for its own video, I would say. Needs a standalone video. Actually, probably needs a standalone course, to be honest. There are a lot of great Ielts courses out there. I don't know if you remember Francis, Francis from the UK, who teaches Ielts and has been teaching Ielts for a long time and used to be an Ielts examiner. He's got 1 or 2 very good courses about Ielts. So if you're looking to take the Ielts exam, I would strongly recommend checking out Francis's courses, because he's a pro and he definitely knows what he's talking about. And it's complicated because the Ielts has writing, reading, speaking, and listening, but the way that you prepare for each is different, and the exam also gets updated every year, so you have a different list of questions, and maybe they might change some things slightly. So it's not something where I could just give a quick answer. I will say, though, in general, when it comes to the Ielts test, the TOEFL test, TOEIC, all of those, the big piece of advice I would give is to always remember to learn the structure, to learn the format of the exam. If you can get used to the way that the exam is given, you can get used to the time limits, you can get used to the requirements that they will have on that day, and you practice and practice and practice in that format. For example, you have 60 seconds to prepare, you have 15 seconds to prepare, and you have to, for the Ielts test, you have to include all of these pieces of information in your answer. Just getting used to doing that is going to make you feel more comfortable on the day of the exam. If you're doing it for the first time on the day of the exam, even though you think, oh, my English is okay, you might do worse than you would have done if you had practiced the format. Just getting comfortable with the format can really help and can boost your score for sure. All right. So I want to go over something about writing. We're going to pop over to a website for artificial intelligence writing. Now, one thing that's interesting about writing now is that there are more tools available to help you write better. So if you struggle with writing, make sure at least you're using the tools that are available to you. Now, some of the tools can make your writing more correct. Grammarly would be a great example of a tool that can at least help you fix your punctuation and basic spelling mistakes, right? So Grammarly is great. But it's not telling you how to be a better writer, really. It's not going to help you improve your skill a lot, but it will help you to remove a lot of things that are going to look weird and unnatural, especially for professional emails, for example. So Grammarly is great for that. And there are a lot of interesting tools like autocompletes. So now I believe in Gmail, when you're writing an email, it will recommend the rest of the sentence based on how you started the sentence. So if you start a sentence, it will say, is this what you're trying to say? Because oddly enough, the thing that you probably want to say is something that's fairly common, and many people may want to say the same thing. So it can probably guess what you're about to write. And usually then if you just hit tab, it says exactly what you wanted to say. So that's a great tool as well. And those are just two examples of how technology is making writing easier. What about how to structure writing? What about getting ideas for writing? Is there any way to see an idea written out and then explore that structure as a way to improve things like writing syntax, as a way to get a feel for different writing structures, different sentence formats? I would say yes, absolutely. So we're going to look at a tool that I've been exploring a bit, and we're just gonna play around with it and see if maybe it could help give ideas for how to come up with sentence structures, okay? And perhaps some other inspiration as well. I'm going to pop over here, and you can see here that we have a website called writer.me. This is spelled RYTR.me. Okay, and there are many AI writing tools out there. I picked one that had a free plan so that I could just test it out a bit. But let's see what we get. Okay. Now, first, you notice you can choose your language. So I'm going to choose English, of course, and then I can choose a tone. So I'm going to try to choose. We have here what tone. How would we like it to feel? Humble, humorous, informative, joyful, passionate, thoughtful, urgent, worried, appreciative, assertive, awestruck. Okay, you know what? I'm going to choose awestruck. That's the tone I want. And this is for, let's see, I can do a section of a blog. I could do a job description. I could do a product description. This is some really interesting applications here. I think I'm going to do a blog section. So I'm just writing a section of a blog here. Okay. Now, section topic. Let's see. I want to write a blog about awkward elevator. Let's see, avoiding awkward elevator conversations and having small talk with strangers in any situation. Okay, it says for best results, provide maximum input. So it wants you to write more. So not just a simple title. Okay, now keywords, awkward, and let's see, elevator, small talk, starting conversations, and let's see what else we could say, breaking the ice, and humor, social anxiety. Let's see, just use conversation, chat, and then weather, because we talk about the weather. All right, and let's do clarity level. I don't know what that means. Optimal, none, medium, high, max. What is this? Factual. I don't need it to be. Well, I'll play around with that later. So I want to do 2 variants. Okay, and then you click on Write for Me. Here we go. It's working. It's working. It's working. It's working. It's working. Let's see what we get. Ooh, it's really working hard. Whoa. Whoa. This is a lot of writing. We have 238 words, 2 different variations. Now let's read what it came up with. This is an AI writing tool writing about the information that I provided it based on that prompt, that topic, and the keywords in the tone that I want. Let's see if number one, it feels awestruck. I don't know how you would write an article that's awestruck about awkward elevator conversations, but who knows? And then we'll talk about why it's worth giving this a try. But let's see what it came up with. I'm going to start here. In this section, we'll talk about how to end awkward elevator conversations and have small talk with strangers in any situation. We'll start with the basics. What is an elevator conversation? An elevator conversation is a brief discussion you have with someone you don't know when you're both taking an elevator, waiting for the same bus, or standing in line at the bank. Well, I guess you could say that's right. I mean, it's not exactly an elevator conversation if you're waiting for the bus, but it seemed to understand the main point that it's a stranger and it's kind of awkward. These are often considered awkward because they're so short and it's difficult to come up with a topic that will interest both of you. You might find yourself blurting out something like, "What's your favorite color?" or "What do you think of the weather?" to try to make small talk. The key to avoiding these awkward conversations is to be prepared for them beforehand so that when one does happen, and then it stops there. That's pretty good. That's really good. It's all correct. So what would I take from this if I wanted to write something myself? What I would do is look at some of the sentences that it came up with. Everything here is correct. In fact, I think it sounds really good. This is good writing. What I would do is look at some of the interesting sentence structures and try to make my own based on them. This is a great way to generate new types of sentences that you might not be familiar with. Look at this one. We'll start with the basics, and then there's a colon. What is an elevator conversation? So it's giving you an interesting way to introduce the main topic of the article, right? And then this one is a really long sentence. An elevator conversation is a brief discussion you have with someone you don't know when you're both taking an elevator, waiting for the same bus, or standing in line at the bank. So this is giving you a long sentence using a lot of commas to separate each piece. And even though it's long, it sounds pretty natural and doesn't feel tiring to read. So that's quite interesting. Let's look at what it came up with, the second one that it came up with. I'm going to space up here just so we can see it. We have all been in that situation where we're standing in a crowded elevator or walking out of the building and don't know what to say to people. The fear of having an awkward conversation can sometimes be so strong that it stops us from initiating any conversations at all. It is important for us to remember that not everyone is like us and may have different interests, values, and beliefs. In order to have a successful conversation, we first need to take the time to get more acquainted with our conversational partner by asking questions about their life and interests. That's actually good advice, I would say, before you just start saying, "Hey, I watched it," and start saying what you're interested in, to ask other people what they're interested in, to start a question or to use a question to start a conversation that's focused on getting information that you can then turn into a more natural conversation. So I actually really like that. That's pretty cool. This is great. Very interesting. Nice. So I'm not saying you should play with this. I'm not saying you have to, but I find it to be an interesting way to just see how I can turn ideas into something written, and something written quite well in different ways, because I believe that using language and learning language is all about play. So if you're playful and you use this kind of thing as a tool to help in your play with language, I think you're going to find a lot there. But you can also just use sentences from a book. If there's a book that you really enjoy reading, if you want to take sentences out from descriptions in the book, that's an interesting sentence structure. That could help me with my syntax. That's a good idea too. So there are a lot of different ways, just one way to explore. And I don't know if I would use this tool as a way to write, for example, blogs about learning English, because it needs to be very, very specific. But I think there's a lot of potential in AI writing. It's pretty interesting. All right, well, that's it for AI writing. If you guys haven't already done so, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also, check out my full English courses in the links in the description. Okay. Yeah, it's a very interesting app. I wonder, Karina, with what you do, if that could come in handy for generating copy for maybe emails or ads or product descriptions, for example. How to begin reading classics like Dickens, having said that has an ambiguous vocab. Okay, maybe we can explore that. Roberto, is it possible to write in different tones in the same document? It is, but generally, if it's an email or a relatively short article, you'll probably have one tone that you're using, and moving around through different tones could result in some confusion, or at least a feeling of what the heck is this? Oh, did that have an awestruck tone? No, I don't think so. I don't think it had that at all. Okay, let me answer this question because this is an interesting one. Komorebi asks how to begin reading classics like Dickens, having said that it has an ambiguous vocab. Well, I'm not quite sure what the second part of that question is about, but let's just take the first part. How do you begin reading classics like Dickens? And maybe this is saying because some of the vocabulary will be difficult. Charles Dickens or any other classic literature. If you pick up classics and you start reading them, you might immediately notice, this is different from movies and TV shows. This is different from how people speak now. What's going on? Should I read this? So I think that's the first question. Should I read stuff that is not modern? Should I read stuff that doesn't sound like how people communicate nowadays? And I think the simple answer to that is yes, absolutely. We learn, or rather we should learn, much more than we actually need to use. And the reason we do that is what we can and in fact do actually use is only a subset of what we know. So you have to learn way more than you're ever going to use, because then at least the percentage of what you can and do use is larger. I don't know what the exact percentage is, but the more you do, the more you know, the more you hear, the more you read, the more knowledge you have of any language, let's say in this case English, the better you're going to be able to use that language, to make connections, to pull out a word that's exactly the right word that you need. Now, you will never use all of the words that you know. But if it is a percentage, let's say it's a percentage, we only use 20% of what we know. Well, if you know 6,000 words and you're only using 20% of those 6,000 words, which is probably about right. I don't know if that's right. Well, that's not a lot, right? So when you speak, when you communicate, it's going to sound simple. But if you know 50,000 words, which is a lot, then you're going to be able to, 20% of that 50,000 words, you're going to be able to express yourself very articulately. You're going to be able to, when you need things, pull them out. And I remember I learned that phrase. That's exactly what I want to say, right? So I believe in having a very strong foundation in a knowledge of the language you want to use, which includes a lot of language that you're never going to actually use. Knowing it is useful. That's why we have to read classics in school, like Charles Dickens. We have to read Fitzgerald. We have to read Hemingway. We have to read all of that stuff in school because it's part of the mesh that is the language, and you don't know when you're going to be using that. You won't even be choosing it consciously, but it'll bubble up every now and then, and you'll access it in some way. Now, what about actually reading these books? Do you need to look up every single word you don't know? I would say if your goal is to learn vocabulary, maybe not. Maybe you don't need to look up every single word. Rather, if your goal is to not learn vocabulary, but just understand and improve your language in general, right? If that's not your goal, then just absorb the language as long as you understand what's going on, as long as you understand generally what is being said, right? Then that's fine. If you must know every word and your goal is just learning words, okay, make sure you learn them in context, look up each one, make sure you understand it clearly, make sure you check the usage, practice making an example or two, right? But I would not recommend that all the time because it's going to be very tiring. I believe the best way is to try to enjoy the book. Try to enjoy Charles Dickens. Try to enjoy Hemingway. Try to enjoy, if you maybe read an English translation of a Russian novel, right? Yeah, great. Get into the story. That's going to keep you reading. That's going to keep you going, right? And when you don't understand this sentence, then look up the word that you don't know. Research that word just so you can understand it. If you're missing meaning and what the characters are talking about because of that, then start looking stuff up. But if it gets too far and you find you have to look up almost every word in order to even understand what's going on, then maybe you've selected a book that's too difficult. Now, I think most of you can probably understand Sherlock Holmes, Charles Dickens, great. Philosophy, maybe more difficult. It depends on your level, of course. But choose something that feels a little challenging, and you don't know all the words, but you still feel like you understand what's going on. You still feel like you understand what the characters are saying. If you're there and you can pretty much understand it, maybe that's Harry Potter for you, maybe that's Charles Dickens for you, or Sherlock Holmes for you. If you feel you can generally understand and you're enjoying the story, perfect. If you understand every single word, maybe too easy. If you can't understand anything and it's every sentence is a major project, find something easier, okay? That is my recommendation about reading classic literature, or in fact, any literature at all. Okay. I always use my phone to avoid small talk, and it works all the time. That's avoiding communicating with your fellow human beings, Karina. Jane Austen. Yeah, Jane Austen has, let's see, Jane Austen language, Jane Austen quotations. I haven't read much Jane Austen. Friendship is certainly the finest balm for the pangs of disappointed love. To be fond of dancing was a certain step toward falling in love. We have all a better guide in ourselves if we would attend to it than any other person can be. Happiness in marriage is entirely a matter of chance. I think probably none of that is too difficult. Although we might have to look up for balm for the pangs of disappointed love. We might have to look up balm and pangs, maybe, but all right. Did I miss any questions here? I'm trying to find the best day for the live streams. I think Wednesday is a good day, but I might do Monday instead of Friday. I mean, I think, Friday, I don't know if Friday is a good day for people. Let me know. Let me know in the comments what day you feel is best or what a good day for these is. I'm still settling on a schedule. Wednesday for sure. And then the other days I'm just not so sure about. Yeah. All right. Let's do some exploration of words. When you come across a new word, or maybe a word you already know that you want to understand better, what's the right way to learn it? Well, I think you've probably heard me say, don't just look it up in your language, translate it, and then say, I know it. Okay, if you're in a hurry and you just need to know it in the moment, great. But if your goal is learning, then you can't do it that way, because the goal of learning stuff is to use stuff, right? So you want to use everything that you learn. In order to use what you learn, when it comes to words, you can't just know the meaning. You can't just look up the definition. You have to also look up the usage, and you have to understand maybe the different senses that the word has. Maybe the word has different forms. And we're going to do an example. We're going to do an exploration of a word to see what are its senses, what are its forms, what is the usage, what are some of the idioms that this word may be used in, idioms and phrases. Once we've done that, and we really have explored the breadth of the word, then we can say, I know it. I believe you don't know it until you can use it. Okay, so let's pop over to my favorite dictionary, the Free Dictionary. Probably sick of me talking about it, but this is my favorite dictionary for several reasons. Number one, I think the interface is good. You can use the different features. Dictionary Thesaurus, medical and legal dictionary that has jargon, acronyms, idioms, right? So I think it's laid out well, but also very importantly because it has idioms, which is rare for a dictionary. Most dictionaries do not have idioms and phrases that you can learn. So that's pretty cool. Okay. Now, let's do this. We're going to explore. I'm going to zoom in a bit here. We're going to explore the word dress. D-R-E-S-S. You might think, oh, I know that. Well, okay, great. Stop watching now. But don't be so sure. Don't be so confident. All right. So what do we do when we want to? Can I make this go away? This is disturbing to me. Go away. First, pronunciation. How does it sound? Let's click on it.
Dress.
Okay, dress.
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 Dress. All right. We know the pronunciation. Dress. Dress. Oh, this is British pronunciation.
Dress.
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 Dress. Okay. Now, let's look at the first definition. You see, it's not as simple as just one thing and, oh, that's what it means. There's a lot here. So let's try to explore it. The first one is a verb, and it's saying also that it's a transitive verb here below. Okay. To put clothes on, to furnish with clothing. To decorate or adorn, to garnish, to arrange a display in. To arrange troops in ranks, to apply medication, bandages, or other therapeutic materials to a wound, to arrange and groom the hair, as by styling, combing, or washing, to groom an animal, to curry. Okay, so we've got a lot here, and the first few have examples in gold here, the gold font. To decorate or adorn, dress a Christmas tree. Okay. I think they don't give examples of the first two because we know about the clothing meaning, Okay, so this is a verb about putting on clothes. Let me get dressed. Let me dress. Okay. Dress the side dish with parsley. So it's not just putting clothes on a person. Get dressed. I'm dressing. I'm dressing. It's not just that. It's also adding things in a decorative way, like a Christmas tree, like a plate, to dress a store window, to dress a side dish with parsley. That's that gross little green thing that comes on your food sometimes, and dress a Christmas tree. That one, it seems to me less common. I would usually say to decorate the Christmas tree. Just decorate the tree, but whatever. To arrange and groom the hair. Okay, to dress, less common. So what about, let's go down now to the intransitive. To put clothes on. To wear clothes of a certain kind or style. To wear formal clothes. To get into proper alignment with others. Okay. To wear clothes at a certain style. Dress casually. Dress formally. Intransitive means there's no object. To dress a Christmas tree, to dress a store window, to dress a plate, to dress him or her, that is a transitive verb because it has an object. There's a thing receiving the action of dressing. Whereas an intransitive verb, as in this one, would be just to do the action, or there being some action happening, and then we don't have to say what the object is. There's nothing receiving the action. We're just describing it a little bit. To dress in what way? Oh, casually, formally, fashionably, right? To dress for dinner. Dress for dinner. So we can add the occasion. Dress for the ceremony. Dress for dinner. Dress for the party. Okay? Noun, clothing or apparel. Okay, now we could be talking about clothes in general there, or the type of clothes. If we say a dress, then we're talking about, well, that would be definition 3. A one-piece outer garment consisting of a skirt and bodice. So that's a dress. She is wearing a dress. Oh, she has a very beautiful dress on. Okay, so that's the thing. Clothing or apparel, dress as a noun is less common than this one, I think. A style of clothing. Folk dancers in peasant dress. So peasant would be the adjective for dress. In formal dress, in casual dress, using it the same way. Okay, adjective, suitable for formal occasions. Dress shoes. A dress dinner. So how is it used? Okay. Now this one I have heard quite often. These are my dress shoes. These are my dress clothes. So this dress means formal. My dress uniform. That is not wearing a dress. That doesn't mean the uniform is a dress. That doesn't mean the shoes are for dresses only. It means these are the type of things that you would wear in a formal situation. So, dress. Now we get into phrasal verbs. Phrasal verbs, okay. To dress down. To dress up. Interesting. To scold or reprimand. I was dressed down by the teacher for lateness. We can get a good idea of what dressed down means just from that first example. I was dressed down after maybe not putting away my toys correctly in my room. To wear formal clothes befitting the occasion or location. To wear informal clothes befitting an occasion or location. Okay. Many employees dress down on Fridays. I've heard that, maybe not as common as this one. Dressed down being scolded. I got dressed down by my parents. But this one, yeah, also fairly common. Many employees dress down. Business casual Friday. More relaxed clothing. I think I'm going to dress down for dinner tonight. I don't feel like putting on a tuxedo. Oh, okay. You might get made fun of for not wearing dress clothes. I don't care. I'm going to dress down. Okay, so now we have an idea about that one. Dress up. So that must be the opposite. To wear a costume or style of clothing, especially formal attire. They dressed up for the prom. The children dress up on Halloween. So that one I would say especially formal, but not only, because to dress up on Halloween, well, that's not formal, is it? When you see a kid wearing a Darth Vader costume or a kid wearing a sheet over his head with 2 eyes cut out. You don't say, ooh, that kid is so formal, right? He's just a kid wearing a costume. So dress up is not just formal. Dress up is also to put on special clothes for some reason. And often we'll say to dress up as Darth Vader, to dress up as what would be one of the most popular ones. Who's Frozen lady? Annabelle? Who is that? I'm drawing a blank on the Elsa. To dress up as Elsa from Frozen. To improve the outward appearance, the new curtains dressed up the room. This one is definitely less common. To dress up something means to make it look better. Yeah, I've heard it, but not super common. Okay. Dress ship, to display signal flags and bunting on a ship. I've never heard that one before. Never heard that one. Not super common. Okay. So I think after just reading through these, you get a pretty good idea of what dress means. And you might have known dress already, but do you know it a little better now? Do you know it a little more than before? Do you have a deeper knowledge of it now because you know some of the usage? So I would say anytime you really want to understand a word, anytime you want to understand a phrase, don't just look up the initial definition. There's a lot more there. Dressing, dress, the different forms, the different meanings. You have to really explore it, and it's a good investment. You might say, yeah, but that takes a lot longer. Well, yeah, it takes a lot longer, that's true. But you could say that just looking up the definition and reading that and being done is time wasted because you don't really know it. You don't really know how to use it. But if you've really spent some time to look at the examples, then yeah, it took a bit more time, but you've not wasted that time. You spent that time wisely, really learning this new word or phrase or whatever you decide to look up. So hopefully that is beneficial. If you have any questions about this, let me know. If you haven't already, don't forget to like and subscribe, and also check out my full courses in the links in the description. Okay. All right. Guys, let me know if you have any questions about anything that I may have missed. The free dictionary is great. I actually use it all the time. Not just for videos. I use it a lot. On Wednesday, we talked a little bit about the new website, but let me just show you what it looks like. So this is the new website, and you can see the courses here if you want to check them out individually. For example, this is the emails course. And you can sign up for the plans. I would recommend this one, probably the yearly plan, because then with the yearly plan you get access to all of the courses. You get added to, we have a WhatsApp group, one of a few WhatsApp groups that you can be added to, and you can also get a one-to-one assessment with me, so I can give you an idea about where your English is, what you need to be working on, and maybe which courses you should be taking first. And you get unlimited access to all of the courses for as long as you're a member. And if any new courses come out, which they will be, if new courses are added, you get access to the new courses that were added too. Okay, so that's how that works. All right. Guys, you're welcome to keep the questions coming, but I do have a lesson planned for today, an actual lesson planned. So I want to get into that a bit. Give me 1 second. I'm going to pop over to the Blackboard so we can really explore this. Word forms and mix-ups. I'm going to be using my Wacom board, just like in courses. All right. Okay. Come on, connect. I'm connecting my pen. Give me a second. This is my Bluetooth pen. There we go. Okay. Here we are. And if you have questions as we go, let me know. But I'm going to be going through this without break first, okay? Some of the most common mistakes, perhaps the most common mistakes, have to do with word forms. Word forms. These are, you have a word, could be a noun, could be an adjective, right? For example, continue, continuous. Which one should you use? Now, maybe you know which one you should use, but when you're speaking, you accidentally use the wrong one. Why? Because you're thinking about what you're trying to say. You're thinking about the pronunciation. You're thinking about a lot of things. So when you're speaking, you make a mistake. So we're going to be exploring word form mistakes, common word form mistakes, and things related to word forms. We're going to look at more things in the future, more different kinds of common mistakes in the future, but we're really going to start with this because it is so common. So let's just write this down, just so we have this down. Okay, we have a verb. We've got a noun. We've got an adjective. I'm just going to write ADJ if that's okay. And then adverb, ADV, if that's okay. Okay. Now, we probably know how to identify the different forms of words. Probably. I'm guessing. But it's not always so simple, especially when it's the same. Maybe the spelling is the same or the pronunciation is the same, right? So I think it's a good exercise for us to just come up with an example of each of these. A normal example and then an example that's not so normal. Okay, so let's say a verb. Succeed. What's the noun form of the verb succeed? What's the noun form? Do you know? If you did that successfully, what did you do? You had a success. Except we don't usually say a success. Most of the time, success is an uncountable noun. A success you could say, but it's not as common as success, as something we don't count as a general idea, okay? What about an adjective? An adjective. If this person has many successes, succeeds all the time, they have a lot of money as a result of that, maybe they have a good reputation, well, we would say that this person is, what would be the adjective? Right, successful. Okay, very successful. Got it. What about the adverb? If you did something like that, in that way, well, then you did something successfully. And if it's okay, I'm just going to add ly there. I'm going to add ly there, and that's the adverb. All right, so I think you probably know this, but the reason I mention it is that there's a difference between knowing and then doing it every time. It's easy to get these mixed up, especially when you have these very close forms, successful, successfully, success, succeed. They're very similar to each other because it's the same word in different forms. And when you're speaking, you use the wrong one. It's very, very common. What you should do then is slow down when you're speaking, especially. Slow down and try to listen to yourself. If you can hear what you said when you're speaking, then you can stop, you can pause, and you can make a correction. But if you're just flying ahead and going to the next thing, it's very easy to just continue making mistakes. And when you continue making mistakes, what happens? You get into the habit of making that mistake. When you get into that habit, well, then it's harder to get rid of later, right? Now, there's another added complication here, and that is that it's not always this simple. Let me give you an example. CLOSE, close, to close. Okay, the verb may be like close a door. Got it. Note the pronunciation, close, close. Okay, all right. What's the noun form of that? How about CLOSE? How do you say it? Close. Ah, the close of a story. That's the ending of the story. So the noun form is pronounced exactly the same as the verb form. That's a little confusing. Close, close. So how do you know which one is which? Based on the situation, based on how it's used, right? That's how you know. So there it's all context. There you use it in the sentence that you need it in. Based on the grammar of the sentence, it's either a noun or it's a verb, okay? What about the adjective? Oh no, it's spelled the same way, but how is it pronounced? This and this, they are close, close. That's describing perhaps their positions, their relationship between the two, right? This could be, if we're talking about maybe close cousins, for example, this could be an adjective, could be used in other ways as well, but in this case, pronounced with an S sound instead of a Z sound. All right. What about this one? An adverb. Oh, by the way, a common phrase that might be used here, a close call. That was a very close call. Something almost happened, but call is a noun, so an adjective is going to be about a noun. Okay. Close cousins. Close cousins. What kind of cousins? Close cousins. An adjective about the cousins. An adverb. Close, close, close. But it's about some action, right? Maybe someone zoomed by very quickly. If someone zooms by very quickly, that's what they did, right? And they zoomed by close. They had a close encounter. A close encounter. Actually, close encounter would be an adjective, but often this can be used as an adverb in the same way. Now, closely could be used too, but close by itself can also be an adverb, okay? So this is just to get an idea for how different forms can be used in different ways, and also how the same word can be used in the same form, but take on different forms in the sentence. Okay, so that's just something to note. And then I want to mention one thing about ly. What about this? Do all adverbs need to end in ly? Closely, quietly, slowly, Do all of them need to end in ly? Well, no. No, you could have one that does not end in ly, as long as you're talking about the action, as long as you're talking about the verb. Other words can describe those actions. Okay? So we might say something like, stop here. So that's about the action of stopping. So here is the adverb of stopping. We might say run, straight. Straight is describing the way that the running has happened. It's about the action of running, straight. Okay? Go, close. Go, close. That's the way that you're going. That's how the going is happening, right? Go close. How about jump across? Now, across can be used as a preposition as well to describe the positions between two things. But if we're talking about the action of jumping, jump across, that's describing the jumping. So, just to be clear, adverbs do not have to be written with ly. You can have many different forms of adverbs that can be written in many different ways, and we often have the idea that they end in ly. That is actually not correct. That is not accurate. Okay? Now I want to go through some common mistakes in general about word forms and how they're used sometimes incorrectly and how we can pretty easily correct them. Again, the difficulty is not in correcting them, it's doing it as you're speaking, as you're expressing yourself, and then catching it, noticing it, and making the correction. Okay, so let's say this one. Buying stuff online. Just listen to me say the sentence. Buying stuff online is very convenient. Buying stuff online is very convenient. Did you catch that? So convenience is what? What kind of word is this? What form is this? Convenience is a noun. So is very convenience doesn't work, right? So it should be convenient. Convenient. Convenience, convenient. I know that's pretty easy, but common mistake. These I've collected over a lot of time looking at different examples and hearing people make mistakes. Okay, let's go to the next one. Oh my God, did you hear that? I'm so scary. I'm so scary. Scary. What kind of word is that? Scary is an adjective, right? Yeah, it's an adjective. Okay, so what's the problem? So scary? Sounds correct. Well, the issue here is there are different forms of adjectives too. Actually, scary and scared are used in different ways. If we're talking about that thing, the thing that's causing me to feel that way, it is scary. We're always describing the cause as scary. That's the cause of my fear. And then when I talk about myself and how I feel, I'm scared. Sort of like how we say boring and bored. So which one is which? Which one is correct? Well, you can usually remember the ed as the way that I feel, the individual feels, the inside feeling, and then the ing or the other one as the cause. So this meeting is boring, this class is boring, this idea is boring, and then I'm bored, I'm scared, she's scared, they're scared, we're scared. Okay? Same thing here. If I say, for example, I'm interested in learning ballet dancing. I'm interesting. I'm interesting. Are you interesting? Well, is that wrong to say? Can we say, I'm interesting. It's not wrong to say, as long as you know what you mean when you say that. If you say, I'm interesting, that means other people think I'm that way. I cause that in them. They feel interested by me in some way. So if I say I'm interesting, that's nothing about how I feel. I'm just talking about the cause. I'm the cause of other people feeling this way. Okay, great if that's what you meant. But if we're talking about ballet, I'm interesting in learning ballet. Suddenly that's incorrect. So it would be interested. I'm interested in learning ballet. That's how I feel. That's my inside feeling. Okay? That makes much more sense, right? Okay, let's look at another one here. The music is too loudly. Oops, no, forget about this one. The music is too, I mixed up the order. The music is too loudly. Does that sound right? Something sounds off about that, right? What if I said singing loudly? Singing loudly. Does that sound right? Yeah, that sounds right. So if it's about an action, it's about the verb, then it works. Singing loudly. How is the singing happening? It's happening loudly. Okay, that makes sense. Somehow this isn't right. If we use is, we're not talking about the way the action is happening. We're describing the thing. This is the thing. The thing is the music. So the music is, what's the adjective form? Loud. Just to be clear, neither of them are wrong as words. Loudly is just describing action that's happening, and loud is describing the thing, the noun, the music. What kind of music? Loud music. So it's an adjective. We need an adjective in that case. And for this case, we're talking about the verb. Loudly would work for the verb, okay? I'm going to make some more room here. Okay, we have a couple more of these we're going to do. The bus is more faster than the subway. That doesn't really make sense, does it? The bus is more faster than the subway. Okay, this is a classic mistake using comparatives. A comparative is a word we use to compare other things. Bigger, smaller, more interesting, more beautiful, right? More expensive, cheaper, quieter. But one thing that we can't do, which people often do, a very, very common mistake, is to put these two together. If you use ER, you can't use more or less. And if you use more or less, you can't use ER. Why? Because they have the same exact function. If something is faster, that means it's more fast. We say faster because fast is a one-syllable word. Usually if it's a one-syllable adjective, we'll use ER. Faster, slower, cheaper, older, younger, right? And if it's a longer word, sometimes 2 syllables or more, 3 syllables, 4 syllables, 5 syllables, then we'll use more or less. More interesting, more interesting. That's a 3-syllable word, sometimes a 4-syllable word. So for those, we would use more or less. What you can't do is use both of them. Can't put them together. So just be careful about that. Sometimes native speakers will make that same mistake. They will put both of them together when they're speaking very quickly, but you shouldn't do that. Okay. A lot. We have just 2 more. Or actually, no, 1 more. A lot of children's. A lot of children's. A A lot of children's. Okay. Well, we talked before about singular and plural. Remember, singular means there's one, and plural means there's more than one. So sometimes all we have to do is add an S to make a singular thing plural, right? For example, pizza, pizzas, pizza, pizzas. Now, sometimes pizza is uncountable too, but let's put that aside. More than one pizza, we can say that's pizzas. Okay, 2 pizzas, 3 pizzas. Some, though, are irregular. And that means words that change when we make them plural. When they go from singular to plural, it changes. Sometimes they don't change, by the way. There are some words that are the same whether they are singular or plural. 1 fish, 2 fish. 1 fish, 2 fish, right? Some words, we don't add an S, we change the word. And I think you probably know, children would be an example of that. What is one? Well, one would be a child. 1 child, 2 children. But notice if you change the form of the word, if you change the word children instead of child, you don't then add an S to it. So if you have a different word for the plural, if it's irregular, right, then don't add the S, because that different word is what makes it plural, is the thing that tells you that there's more than one. And this is kind of the classic example. Goat, goats, goat, goats, right? Okay. So that's the same word. We just add an S to make it plural. Got it. Fish, fish. Okay, well, the word is not changing at all. Child, children. So because the word changes, we can't do anything else to it. We can't add the S. It is pretty common to hear people make that mistake of, even though they're using a different word, a special plural form, they are also adding an S to it, which we should not do. Okay? So that's just a bit about word forms, some common word form mistakes. I know it's kind of a lot. In some ways, it's very easy and obvious stuff that you already know. In other ways, maybe has given you something new to think about, at least in how common these mistakes are. How often do you make these mistakes when you're speaking, even though you already know that this is correct and that one is incorrect? It's often not about just knowing which is correct. It's about being able to use the correct one every time. And to do that, you have to get yourself into the habit of self-correction until you no longer make that mistake, until it comes out correctly every single time. Okay? All right. So hopefully that helps. Fatima's here. Good. You guys have any questions about word forms? I'm going to erase this. You guys have any weekend plans you want to share? Anything cool happening? All right. All right, well, if we don't have any questions, I think we can call it a day for now. Thank you all for joining. I appreciate it. Hopefully you found the lesson to be interesting. I know this is a slightly different style than we usually do, this sort of lesson, but I wanted to give it a try. Let me know what you think. Feedback always welcome. Still trying to find a good scheduled time for these. So let me know which days are best. I'm still thinking about if it should be Monday and Wednesday or Wednesday and Friday or what. So appreciate it. Again, if you haven't already done so, don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe and follow, of course. Also, if you're interested in really getting serious about your English, check out my full courses in the links in the description. Check out the annual, particularly the yearly membership plan. That is, I think, a good deal. All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching, and I will see you all in, hopefully, the next one. Take care, everybody.